Satellite reality theory is a distributed consciousness reality rendering design that I observed and proposed. It runs on recursion. Recursion is the source that allows the substrate that allows for interface for the node or the non-local consciousness with source or the global field. This recursion is powered by polarity. Polarity is the battery that creates that provides the charge that is necessary for recursion to run off of. The polarity runs off of magnetism, which is the opposing charges and their attraction or repulsion for each other. What I want to do is take this a step further and draw again for you the act of polarity in real time. And for the most part, when we think about polarity, we think about polarity on a spectrum from positive to negative. Negative usually being bad and positive usually being good or coherent. The thing is that polarity moves in a wave, so that wave also has amplitude. And what we'll do is we'll start the wave out from each charge of polarity. So we think polarity goes from left to right, but actually polarity goes more or less from top to bottom. So the positive charge is here and the negative charge is here. What happens is the charge is created and sent out and goes out and causes a waveform. And this waveform has both an amplitude and a force. And what this is called is a vector, which means it has it moves in two different directions. So this is the height of the wave, or the amplitude over the wave, and this would be over time. The bottom would be over time. And so then we would take another wave out, which is produced from the negative side of the polarity, and that would also create a sine wave. If you notice, where these sine waves connect, we have something that looks like the vesica Pisces. Everywhere the sine waves connect, we have something that looks like the vesica Pisces. That is what you would call the liminal space. In this liminal space is where reality is rendered. This liminal space is where reality is rendered. So what happens, how we read this, is during this time of the day, and this time of the day, this is how our reality rendered based on our perception. The charges went out. So here is where they intersect. And at this point, this is more in the positive. This would be in the middle. So up here would be more coherent. So you start your day off, you're actually starting your day off in the coherent range. You're starting your day off more in alignment, more in the coherent range. But as time goes on, as the day goes on, we end up below the middle point line. And so now we've moved into the negative territory, and we're ending our day in distortion. Now, this can be different. You can start your day in distortion and end it in coherence. You can start your day in coherence and end it in coherence. You can start your day in distortion and end it in distortion. This is just what came out from my hand-drawn, free-handed, without planning on how this sine wave would come out. So this is also called rhythm, the amplitude, and the time is called flow. This is why your tone that you live in life, this charge is called the production of tone. And this charge comes from perception. This is why perception is very important and significant in reality rendering, because this charge is created by your perception. So as you get your perception, the perception creates the tone. The tone creates the line. The way that the line travels creates the rhythm. The rhythm creates the flow. The rhythm and the flow creates the pattern. The pattern is what renders in your reality. And based on your level of perception, this basically tells you your level of perception when this reality renders. So your level of perception was coherent and positive during this time of reality rendering. Over here, your level of perception was negative and maladaptive and distorted at the time that reality was rendered. So what you were able to observe in that stream of source rendering those charges, you were only able to observe and materialize the maladaptive data in that recursion loop. And over here, you were able to materialize the coherent, expansive data in this recursion loop, which is your coherent recursion loop. So this would be the maladaptive recursion loop. The difference to getting to a midpoint, if you want to get these two to reach this midpoint, you see that you only need to bring up your negative perception up slightly, because you're only a little bit below the midpoint line, and anything above above this midpoint line is full coherence. So if you just bring your tone up just a little bit, go read a book, go walk outside, go eat, dance, listen to some music, you can lift your tone up just enough to get you over this line, over this hump, and then your sine wave would meet somewhere like this. By the end of the day. So now you're ending the day because you caught that you were out of you started to the incoherence, you realized that you were out of coherence, you were maladaptive, you were incoherent, you realized that you needed to raise your tone, change your perception, raise your tone, change the rhythm of your day, and now you're ending your day in coherence. Slightly above the midpoint, but nonetheless in a coherent state of reality rendering, an expansive state, an expansive place to end your day so that you can start the next day in an expansive state. I wanted to say something, but I forgot. But this is how you become the person who controls your reality. This is why awareness matters. So when you're aware of the pattern, you can break the pattern and break the loop and get yourself out of maladaptive energy and back into coherence. Or if you're in coherence and you don't want to be in coherence and you want to be down, you can get yourself out of coherence and back into your maladaptive cycle. Whatever cycle is works best for your bandwidth and processing capabilities of your nervous system. So whatever brings you to your more 0 point, your midpoint, is where you want to be. But just know that you are in control of the reality you render by being aware of the reality that you're rendering. If you're in alignment, if you're out of alignment, if you're in alignment and are out of alignment, bring yourself in alignment with bringing yourself from below the midpoint line closer to the midpoint line, and so forth. So I hope this helps you understand a little bit more of how recursion works and help you see the pattern more of how recursion works. And I'm actually absolutely sure that we can move on from here to the nervous system so that we can start integrating how to use recursion in our life, in awareness, and with consciousness. And it's not about non-reaction, because reaction is very important in order to stabilize harmonize and balance out those charges. Sometimes you gotta act up to discharge this negative energy. Sometimes you have to breathe and calm down to increase your positive energy. So you have to be aware of where you are in your perception and what charge or what tone you need to elevate your reality.